President Biden is welcoming the president of Kenya to the White House this afternoon for the beginning of a state visit. William Ruto is the first leader of an African country to receive this honor since 2008. For more, let's bring in CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Weijia, why has it been so long since an African nation has been invited to the U.S. for an official state visit? And tell us also why the Biden administration chose Kenya.
Well, this is the 60th year, the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Kenya. And that is just one of the many reasons that the administration says that it chose to invite Kenya. As for the timing, Lana, the world has certainly changed a lot since 2008, and so has Africa's place as the world continues to deal with global issues, with Africa being at the center and really rising in its place when it comes to the economy and the global economy, which is another reason why the administration has chosen Kenya, because we often talk about how China really plays a role in all of the president's foreign policy decisions, and China has been investing billions and billions of dollars, Lana, and time into Africa. And so the U.S. recognizes that, this space is really competitive, and they want to nurture this relationship. I should also say that last year, President Biden gathered dozens of African leaders here in Washington to talk about things that they could work on together. And he made a promise to visit Africa by the end of the year. That was 2023, and it never happened. So I do think this is a way to try to heal some of that, because it was a broken promise, Lana. But they do have a lot of shared interests. They will be talking a lot about climate change and how that has really hurt the people of Kenya when it comes to drought, and ways that they can turn that into a partnership when it comes to businesses both here and there. And they'll also talk about the debt for developing countries and the fact that Kenya has stepped up and offered to supply military to Haiti to try to stabilize the peace conditions there, which the U.S. recognizes as an extraordinary undertaking. So I think for a variety of reasons, Lana, it makes sense that they have invited Kenya for this huge, huge honor.
Well, Weijia, I'm wondering, besides having these discussions and trying to engender more goodwill, do we expect that anything concrete will be accomplished during this three-day visit?
We are expecting some announcements, Lana, when it comes to security partnerships and when it comes to the economy as well. And, this is a state visit, so it is going to have all the pomp and circumstance in addition to the formal talks with a variety of sectors. They'll be meeting with people in the tech space. They'll be meeting with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So while it is obviously a business meeting, there will also be a lot of opportunity for them to get to know each other in a new way, because this is the most intimate visit that the U.S. can offer another country.
All right, Weijia Jiang, thank you.
Sure.
President William Ruto is the first African leader to visit the White House since 2008, as the Biden administration aims to strengthen ties with a critical ally in East Africa. For example, the U.S. and Kenya are partners in combating instability in Somalia. You see that over here. Last year, Kenya's defense minister and the U.S. defense secretary signed a cooperation agreement to fight al-Shabaab and other Islamic State-aligned extremist groups. That's why you see Kenyan forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In fact, Kenya has a leading role in maintaining regional security and fighting terrorism, especially since U.S. troops were ordered out by former close allies Niger and Chad. Kenya also agreed to lead a multinational police force to assist in stabilizing Haiti, which continues to suffer from gang violence and instability. The U.S. is contributing financially to this international fighting force, but will not provide troops. That makes Kenya's role central to the operation. Now, Kenya is also an important economic ally. Take a look at this. The continent, the African continent, has increasingly turned towards China and Russia. The U.S. is Kenya's fourth largest trading partner, but China is Kenya's top trading ally. So the U.S., of course, wants to strengthen its economic relationship. That is a goal of this visit. President Ruto wants to diversify his nation's economic funding as well. Now, more trade with Kenya could also help the Biden administration achieve some of its climate goals. More than 90% of Kenya's power comes from renewable sources. There are also multiple companies setting up carbon capture plants in Kenya and homegrown green companies from Kenyan entrepreneurs. Still, Ruto's visit has not been seen as universally positive by Kenyans. Many have complained that Ruto spends too much of his time outside of the country and not enough time focusing on domestic issues like unemployment, which is at approximately 5.6%. Ruto is also facing court challenges over the decision to send police officers to Haiti. Still, though, this state visit runs 3 days and will include a visit with members of Congress and, of course, the all-important state dinner.